Oh, you thought Donny Osmond was on the show? No. It's weird. I don't know why that song suddenly came into my head. God only knows. Hello, I'm Russ Kane. Look. This is The Daily Show on Men's radio station. I'm in London and millions and millions of miles away in a galaxy far, far away. It's...
Oh. Hello.
Well, you know what? This is the weird thing. You are in Canada. What I was dicking around trying to do was trying to get a Canadian flag up to welcome you. And I don't have the technical expertise, and I got one hand, so I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it to work. But I wanted to welcome you with your Canadian flag.
Oh,
no, it's the least I could do, man. It was the least I could do. So the weird thing is, when you're in New Malden, where you are the king of New Malden,
yes,
this is a better line. This is clearer, visually clearer, audibly. How does that work?
I don't know.
Isn't that insane?
I honestly don't know, because I am 4,000 miles away from New Malden at the moment.
You got a cold?
Well, no.
Because doing drugs?
No, well, no, not exactly. It's. I went out with my daughter last night, and we met her friends, and it got a tad messy.
You ended up in a strip club?
No, nothing like that. But it did get a tad messy. The beer was flowing, so I have a little bit of a hangover.
Oh, so you got a hangover. What is your daughter doing in Canada? Is she running on the run? Is she on the lam?
She is looking for the dark matter in the universe.
Well, she could just go to Croydon for that. Just go stand outside East Croydon Station. There's more dark matter there. That's all she needs to do.
Well, I will pass the message on. Yes,
no, it's fine. Paul Rose says the reason you're sniffing is you're allergic to maple syrup.
Is that
right? Maybe Neil Long is allergic to ridiculous woke leaders who should shut the hell up. Can't believe I said that.
Russ, please.
Yeah, well, I think he's an absolute twit. I do. I really think he's an idiot. Mind you, so was his dad, Fidel. That's another long story. Right, you know that story, don't you? You know, I'm not going to go there. Right, let's crack on. Do you don't know that story? It's fantastic. Let's crack on. When this guest was proposed, I was very, very happy about it. And here he is. Good morning to you, Mark.
Good morning to you both. Good morning to London. Good morning to Canada.
Yeah, hello, Mark. Well, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Canada are speaking of very little else than this show. I can tell you that, Mark. It's a sensation. What happened to the truckers, by the way? The truckers gone now because I lost the plot with that. Have they all gone?
Oh yeah, that all sort of cleared up.
They all kind of went home, had a couple of beers, watched the Flintstones, and
it would seem so. Yes.
That was disgraceful. But that was sorry, Mark. I know that's not why you're here, but
I like the Flintstones.
I love the Flintstones. Who doesn't like? Who didn't have the hots for Betty and Wilma?
I always wanted one of those cars.
You can get them. Listen, where I live, you can go to any second-hand car. You trust me, within a week you'll have one of those cars, Mark. You won't think you're buying it at the time. It's when the floor pan. It's when the floor pan falls out.
I had a Morris Minor.
Bermondsey High Street, right?
I had a split screen Morris Minor 1952.
Oh, God, did you?
Pan, yeah, with the crisscross grill, not the.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Oh, and, God.
I could actually put my feet through a hole in the floor pan on the passenger side.
Did you go da 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 da? Yeah. Owers, I'm Mark Owers. I'm chair of the National Adoption Recruitment Steering Group.
I did. I had a prophecy. Back when I was 18.
This is. Did you? I'm so sorry. Right, as a petrol head, I know this is why you're here, but this is the joy of this show, and Neil knows that. I can't believe that Neil, on his holiday, joins us. It's so sweet. So you had the split screen at the back, 1959 version.
1953.
Oh my God!
So it was the split screen. It had the semaphores, and it was an 803 side valve, but I upgraded it to a 1098.
I told
engine.
you. What did I say, Neil? I said it was the 803. You said don't be daft. It was the 807. I said it's the 803.
Yeah, stop the clock.
You wouldn't listen.
See.
Right.
But I'm not a petrol head. I just like my Morris Minor Series 2.
Isn't it? Do you know what I'd really like? And Clint Eastwood had one. I know this is not a mental health. No, you know what Clint Eastwood had, Mark? You know the Traveller with the wooden. It's like the little
Yes.
mini estate, the little estate, the Morris Minor estate, which had the wood down the side.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood had one. If it's good enough for Clint, it's good enough for me. I'd
He was
love
probably
one
too
of
tall
those.
to lie in it, though.
Well, you know, you're going to argue with him. You're going to argue with him at the traffic
Nice.
lights. If he wants the parking spot, you're going to go, I'm Mark Owers. I'm the chair of the National Adoption Recruitment Steering Group. You're Clint Eastwood. Please
Yeah,
have
but
my space.
he's got a magnum, though,
feeling
right?
lucky punk.
Yeah,
Feeling
exactly.
lucky. Did I adopt 5 kids or only 6? Well, in all the excitement, punk, I kind of forgot myself. Now, Mark, tell us about yourself, why you're here, etc., what you do.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
We are today launching our new campaign to help people come to adoption with a more open mind. Too many children are waiting longer than they need to, and they're generally the over 5s, the brother and sister sibling groups, children from ethnic minority groups, and children with additional needs. Most people come to adoption because they want to adopt a baby or a 0 to 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And we want people to rethink it and come with an open mind.
It's a bit, when I was reading all the information that was kindly sent to me by the PR folk, it's a big ask, isn't it? I read it, and I'll be absolutely brutally honest. Well, I'm too old now. You know,
You're never too old.
Mark, I don't have the energy. It's not for me. Yeah, I've got 4 kids. I don't need any more. Thank you very, very much. Now, here's the thing. What?
You could foster.
No, Mark, you could even bribe me with martinis. The answer is no. I've got to be honest. At this stage in my life, it's not for me. But I was reading it and I was thinking, you know, if I was a much younger guy, could I do that? Could I really? Because you're asking, and I totally get it. And I think what you're doing is magnificent. I truly do. But it is a big ask, isn't it? I mean, bringing up kids under any circumstances is so expensive, so difficult, and takes up all of your life.
I mean, parenting is a challenge. It is a big ask. Adoption is a wonderful, amazing thing, but it's not without its challenges. There's no doubt about that. But there's more support available than ever before. We understand much more what adoptive families need. And right from the off, the offer of support is on the table. We've normalised that. In the past, people felt they should just off they go into the sunset happily ever after. But we know that children that have been removed from their birth families for their own safety, where it is right for them to be adopted, they have needs. But we know much more about how we prepare and support adoptive parents to help meet their needs.
I'm going to do something, Mark, that you might freak you out a little bit, but please bear with me. We have listeners who are incredibly loyal all over the world, and one of them is Chrissy Richards, who watches and listens to the show. And good morning to everybody on Deluxe Radio, by the way, all 70,000 of you on Deluxe Radio taking this stream. And please, you know, if you go onto our YouTube channel, just like and subscribe as well. That's Men's Radio Station. Or you can watch us on my own private group, which is the Espresso Bar, which I know lots of you do. Now, in Spain is Chrissy Richards. And on Monday, Mark, she said, this is why you never stop being a parent. Doesn't matter how old the kids are. And on Monday, she says, I'm feeling a bit down today. And I'm thinking, oh, is it the weather? Because normally we have a bit of a light-hearted banter with Chrissy. Her son ended his own life by hanging himself, and a family member came in and found him. This was like Sunday, Monday. And Chrissy has just commented and said this. Hi, still here. Thank you, Chrissy. My son had been battling for days, 6 sessions counseling. All he could have, not enough. Hope he is at peace now. So do we. Sorry, but it's my video family keeping me sane. Well, I know on behalf of Neil, on behalf of myself, Chantel, Leslie, and all the gang, it's our heart goes out to you, Chrissy.
Yeah,
and if we're able to help you in any way, you know, just by being here, well, our work is done. Should be easier for adoption. My friend, oh my goodness me, found out at 48 years, didn't phase her. Wowza.
I know someone that's been through the adoption process. It's been fascinating to watch, actually. Not being adopted, they were adopting, and it was, there was a lot of. It wasn't simple, but it couldn't have been. It needed to be a little bit complex, I suppose, just to make sure they, the child was going to the right kind of people, which of course she was. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject. Liz says,
would you like? Can you read? Are you using your phone or your laptop?
No, I'm on my laptop, so I can.
So you can read this.
Liz says, from what I've heard anecdotally, adoption in theory is all very well, but there are understandably so many hoops to go through. Yeah, this is what I saw. That many give up, even though they could be ideal. That's interesting. So yes, good to hear more about this, Mark.
Yeah, we know from our own mystery shopping that the experience at the front door and during the assessment process in the past hasn't always been as positive as we would like.
Right.
We are spending much more time with real adopters. Our campaign, just to flag now, if you search "You Can Adopt," you can see the campaign material, "A Life Less Ordinary." And there's a film there. It's a heartfelt film with real adopters from diverse backgrounds who've adopted children with additional needs, older children from ethnic minority communities. And they're being interviewed by a panel of children. The children are actors, but they themselves have some of the characteristics that we're talking about here. Right. It's not an easy process, and it never should be, but it should be done in a compassionate, thoughtful way. When you are placing someone else's child into what you hope you need to be a forever home, you have to make sure that you're making the right decision.
Yeah.
And we have to ask quite intrusive questions, but we can do that in a compassionate, respectful way. We need to be confident that people are in the right frame of mind, in the right setting. We need to understand their network of support. We need to understand some of their own history, some of their own kind of experiences of relationships, whether they've parented before, their own experience of parenting. Because parenting is difficult. I mean, actually, if you think about it, and you were talking about having your own 4 children, you get much more preparation as an adopter than you do bearing your own children.
Well, Mark, I always say every time we took the girl, boy, and then twins, I always say every time we get out of the hospital, put them in the car, we go, what the hell are we going to do now? Because suddenly you've gone from the hospital environment and you've got these little creatures in the back of your car and you're going, oh my God.
Well, you saw, I think, from the PR material, my own story. We had 7 years of fertility treatment. Didn't work. We said goodbye to that. We then adopted. I'd always wanted to adopt anyway, so I welcomed it. And then a year later, my wife fell pregnant with triplets.
Triplets.
So we went from
hell. You don't do things by half.
Well, yeah, I'm trumping. I went from 0 to 5, or we went from 0 to 5 in less than 18 months.
Wow.
And that is with 2 children, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, when placed with us.
Do you know what that was, Mark? Don't you? That was trying to replicate the acceleration speed of your 1953 Morris Minor, 0 to 5 in 8 months. Yeah. Thank you. I'm here all week.
I used to rattle up the M1 from London to Leicester in that Morris Minor comfortably at 70, 80 miles an hour. So great car. But it's, the way in which you kind of take on any children, it has a massive impact, and you need to have the right support. The important thing about these children, whilst the statistics show us that they wait longer and they're sometimes deemed harder to place, they're no harder to love. And when we adopted, we wanted a baby and an 8-month-old. We wanted to kind of mold in our own image, but we ended up falling in love with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and that wasn't what we thought we were going to do. But you fall in love.
I'm going to ask a difficult question. Did they end up falling in love with you and your wife?
They couldn't help it.
No, I understand that. You're a very attractive man.
Thank you.
And you had a Morris Minor, so obviously we love you. But no, did you feel? And by the way, this isn't the BBC, so you can tell me to sod off if you don't like the question. But did you feel that that love that was boundless, unconditional?
So really interesting. So the first day we arrived at the foster carers to meet them, we were supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning for the daily routine. We were there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, sitting eating our bacon butties.
Bit over keen, mate.
We were over keen, but like the butterflies. And when we went to the front door, my son kind of grabbed a hold of me and didn't let go for about 30 minutes, as if I was the long lost dad. Which was
Neil, are you feeling? I'm feeling this.
It was overwhelming.
I'm feeling this. I'm seeing Tom Hanks in the role,
but it was overwhelming.
And Ricky Schroeder.
It wasn't also normal because he didn't know me, So that kind of need for love and kind of belonging was kind of really important to him. And over time, we've obviously worked out a relationship that is more about kind of attachment. It's more about psychological kind of attachment and social development and kind of how you react with each other. And our daughter, who was 20 months, she wasn't crying one night in her cot within about the first 2 or 3 days. The cot was in our room. And she, or her bed, it didn't have the sides on. And she was just lying awake. We picked her up and she was kind of lying next to us like this because she didn't know who we were. And our natural instinct was to cuddle and to comfort and to love.
Sure.
But our behavior was very much driven by them and kind of how they wanted to interact with us. And our relationships, our physical relationships, our emotional, spiritual, cognitive kind of engagement and attachment with them has developed over time, and they're different children. And of course, it's also been the same with the way in which they've done that with our family, our friends, with their brothers and sisters, the triplets. This takes time, and you need space for self-care, for mindfulness, for reflection, to invest in your relationship. It's a tricky
Why
gig.
Are you such Mark? I'm going to read something out. Then I got a question for you. Would you like to read it out, Mr. Hangover?
Sure. Adoption can be very interesting for those that never knew it happened in their family. I had an unknown brother and sister born back in the 1940s. Find us. Mum never said a word about them. She welcomed her son back, but never got to meet her daughter. How fascinating! I
got to tell you something, and I've never spoken about this publicly before. My late wife was adopted.
Right.
And I eventually got some private detectives and tracked down her real parents, who were bizarrely still alive, and found all sorts of relatives and things like that.
Wow.
Very interesting when you see the actual parents as opposed to the adopted parents were nothing like her. I could never understand it. I didn't realize she was adopted. She was adopted at 6 weeks. And when I met the real parents, everything clicked into place.
Right.
Very interesting, but that's for another day. That's for another day.
Well, Russ, just on that, I mean, I'll listen to it on another day as well. The adoption system in England particularly has changed dramatically since those days. And we're really clear that there's no secret around adoption now. Children shouldn't even remember when they were told they were adopted. It should be open. It should be all about being proud to be adopted. Secrecy.
You hit the nail on the head there, Mark.
Yeah,
that explains so much neuroses.
Well, if as an 18-year-old you find a letter and it says that you're adopted and you don't feel you're able to even tell your adopted parents, and then you don't go and search out your real parents until your adopted parents have died, what does that do to someone's kind of anchor point?
It messes you up. It messes you up enormously.
It has to be open, and that's all very much part of the system now. And increasingly, we need to be open about birth families, about contact with grandparents if it's not safe to kind of have contact with the mother or the father or both. Children who are adopted, who become young people, who become young adults, who become adults and grandparents themselves, need to understand who they are, where they came from, why, and we are adopting their first family as adopters as well as them. And it's really important that we're straight with people.
That's so different from how it was.
It's a game changer.
It's so different. This is coming in from New York State, from the great Asa Don Brown. My mother was an orphan, and it's been my experience with my mother that has influenced my own perception of the importance of family.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love these changes, though.
Stop
I mean,
bitching, Paul. Paul, stop
it's-
bitching.
it sounds a much more enlightened approach, a much more
Yeah.
considered, much more holistic approach. I think that's probably the best
Completely.
word, isn't it?
I think, Mark, would I
It's
be
so
right?
important.
I'm so sorry. Would I be right in thinking that the old way was kind of covered in shame? And, I can only go back to my own personal experience, which I've never spoken about before. People wanted me to write it in a book, and I thought, I just can't do this. Can't keep raking up the past of it. But it was horrible. It was horrible. The whole circumstances were horrible and inhuman, and depriving people of joy. Really. So I'm pleased it's changed, Mark. I really am pleased.
We are all unique, and we should be defined by ourselves, not defined by some kind of sordid secret or some
dirty
kind of
little secret.
deceit. We should celebrate each and every one of us for who we are, our uniqueness.
That's a
Neil
lovely.
was
That's
doing
a
that.
lovely thing
By the
to
way,
say.
Neil was doing that last night in Canada, celebrating his uniqueness.
Well, but he was also
Several pints
spending
of
lovely
his
time,
unique-
spending lovely time with his daughter as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
searching for dark
Thank
matter.
you for seeing it that way, Mark. Thank you.
Searching for dark matter in a strip club. I don't know what you're like. What's he like? that
I was
Neil
not in
Long?
the strip club.
In a strip club. The only reason I say that, bear with me, Mark. The only reason is I've been to Canada a couple of times, right? And I was there on a fleeting tour, and I ended up in Vancouver, and we ended up in some strip club or so. I don't know where the hell we were, something like that. And I'm standing at the bar because I always find those things a bit embarrassing. And this girl came. And remember, it's freezing cold, snow's falling. I'm in Vancouver, right, middle of the night, and this girl comes up wearing like 2 bits of tissue or something like that, and she starts talking. I said, "You sound like a long way. You're from Northern England." She said, "I know. I'm from Macclesfield." That's what I can think of when I think of Canada. A stripper from Macclesfield. Would you like to read this out from?
Well, I
Susan?
wouldn't know, Russ, because I wasn't in the strip club.
No, of course you won't, Neil.
Susan,
No.
I was
How
not.
was the convent?
I shall treat that with the contempt it so richly deserves.
I believe my measure.
Sue says, "Hi guys, it's difficult as a social worker, retired now, to know that not all adoptions, that not all adoptions are positive. Sometimes this is because information is withheld by social workers about the child's family and the impact of the child. But it seems that this is so much better thought out in so many directions, and so much nuance and so much more detail than before. And that can only be a good thing. I love the way you say. I love the story about how you met your son. First of all, it's lovely, but what a beautiful beginning. But it's a whole lifetime, isn't it? And to celebrate people for their uniqueness, that's pretty enlightened, forward thinking. I have to say, it's brilliant.
And I would say to any adopters or people coming forward to adopt, do the due diligence. Say to the social worker and the foster carer, and if you can have contact with the birth family, you be a consumer of the information. You want to know the history. You want to know about health. You want to know about family. You want to know about why they came into care. You want to know about their experience whilst in care, how many foster carers, wherever they lived. Sometimes in the past, adopters haven't felt empowered, but it's really important that you ask those questions and that you ask and seek that information. It is your right. And you shouldn't be, we don't buy a car without kind of asking questions
I was
about
just
the
about
tiles.
to say that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
We've just gone through this with one of the kids who's getting another car. And it's such a big deal to make sure you're getting the right thing. And then to say, well, it's a piece of metal, eventually, worst case scenario, you can throw it away. These are human beings. And the stress of getting it right is enormous. Enormous.
You mentioned self-care as well. How important is that, being all about health and well-being here? I always say you can't give from an empty cup. I mean, that must really count even more so in a situation like this.
Absolutely. My analogy is, on an aeroplane, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important. I think COVID's shown us much more that we need to do that. We need to look after ourselves, our family. Life's too short, and you never know what's going to happen next. And You wake up in the morning on your own, you go to sleep on your own at night. You might go to sleep with other people and people you shouldn't. I appreciate
And then
that.
you go home and sleep on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. But the importance is that you have to be at one with yourself before you can kind of be really kind of on a level with others. So how you look after yourself through mindfulness, through sport, through the odd kind of glass of wine. It's important that you look after yourself, you look after your partner, and then you can be a better version of yourself in the way in which you kind of parent.
Yeah, that really does make sense to me. You mentioned mindfulness quite a lot. You're a practitioner, or you practice it?
I try. I mean, it's tricky, but being in the moment, I was watching my dog the other day, and I was thinking, what's it like to have 4 legs? And I was kind of watching him, and I found myself actually being mindful about being mindful. I then realised that
levels.
I know deep stuff, right? And I then realised that he didn't even know he had 4 legs. He just walks,
It's a
right?
dog. They poo,
dog,
they
they have 4
wee, they
legs.
eat, they're happy. That's it. If I
But,
come back, I'm coming back as a mini schnauzer. I've had it as a human being. It's completely overrated. I don't want to come back again.
Yeah, dogs are great.
I'll come back as a mini schnauzer. Be great.
Well, a dog, they are. I mean, unconditional love. It doesn't matter what you do to a dog. You go out all day, you come back. All it wants to do is lick the face off you.
Yeah.
Imagine kind of just having that unconditional love. And for those children that wait the longest, they might be harder to place, but they're not harder to love. And that unconditional love's really, really important.
Yeah. But you can't practice that without a high degree of self-care, of course.
No, you can't.
So interesting. It's you both of you have put a spotlight on something which is often shied away from, and that is it is not selfish to, in some ways, and let me get to the end of it before you leap on me and start beating me up. In some ways, put yourself first, because if you're in no good shape, you're not in any good shape for anybody else. Or if you are just depleting whatever little reserves as a person you have left. A situation I can well relate to. And so you got to get yourself right first.
Yes,
got to get yourself right.
I call it the selfishness paradox. You have to be selfish enough to take care. And I put that word in parentheses because selfish is seen as a bad word. Maybe we should call it the self-care paradox. But literally, you cannot give from an empty cup. All that does is deplete, and then ends up with feelings of resentment, which is, of course, the last thing that's needed when you're adopting children. So it's the most important thing, the self-care. So it's a subject that fascinates me, and we practice it so little because we think it's selfish. I think we've got that wrong.
Well, and we get caught up in our day-to-day, don't we? We're 100 miles an hour. And certainly my experience with COVID was, it's okay to slow down.
Yes.
The world is better when you slow down.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. That's the message I get from mindfulness, self-care. Slow down, slow down, slow down. Be here now. There's only this moment and all that sort of thing.
I must go off to Big City Radio for 12:30, chaps.
Oh, I see. So Neil, we've just been used. We've been thrown to the curb. We feel like a discarded Kleenex.
You've enjoyed it. You've enjoyed it, though, guys, right?
Well, if that, Mark, if you want to go to Big City Radio, which comes out of somebody's spare bedroom, in a terrace row of houses in I think it is Mac.
That's all right. We're not offended. It's okay.
We're not offended at all. I never liked this guy.
Can I ask you again, just to promote You Can Adopt? So have a look, search You Can Adopt, have a look on the website. There's some great stuff. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you two.
Yeah, brilliant. And congratulations on the forward thinking of it. It's really good stuff. So lovely to have.
And Mark, may the power of the Morris Minor, may the power of the Morris Minor always be with you.
Peace.
Mark,
thank you,
care. Bye. Here we go. I couldn't adopt. I couldn't do it, but it's tough enough with your own kids. I couldn't. The thought of it now. I mean, even the thought of getting a new puppy is like, really? Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to go through that again? Right. What does Asa say? Very nice man. What a charming man.
Got some lovely comments. The
key to healing... Do you want to whip through them?
Yeah, I will actually.
I'll let you do that.
Thank you. Asa Don Brown, good morning, sir, who sent me some lovely recommendations because he knows Canada quite well. So sent me some lovely recommendations of places to go to. So thank you, Asa Don Brown. The key to healing the heart and mind of a child, is unconditional love. acceptance, approval, forgiveness, and trust. I always define love as the 4 A's: acceptance, approval, allowance, and appreciation. If people ask you, if people ask you what love is, that I reckon that's the best definition I've.
Do you know
I've come
what?
across. 4
Write
A's.
this down, because this could be an idea for a song. I want to know what love is.
Or what
I
is
want
love? That'd be a
you
brilliant
to
song
tell
title.
me. Write that down, because that
Yeah.
could work.
Hang on, I've got one coming. What is love, baby? Don't hurt me
Yeah,
no more.
don't hurt me.
Brilliant.
Yep. This is, oh my God.
Yeah,
That is great.
If I had a way of bringing that to the charts,
And do you know what?
see what I did there?
Hang on, I've got another idea.
What?
All you need is love. Make a note of that one.
All right.
Because I
Lovely
think
comment.
that could work.
Yeah, lovely comment from Liz as well. Family is so important to me, and as Neil knows, my family are enormous. I have family on every continent in the world apart from the poles. Equally, my family experiences have shaped my way of life.
So
Yes.
Liz doesn't have any relatives in Warsaw, is she saying?
That's not what she meant, you big sausage. And yeah, absolutely. And it's a lovely thing to see. And I know Liz draws a lot of support and strength for that, which is great. And I was reminded relatively recently of the importance of family when I had a bit of a dip 2 years ago. And it was just, were it not for my family, and I will add for people like Liz, I don't know what I would have done. But it reminded me of the importance of family, a group that's got your back, if you know what I mean, and you've got theirs. It's a mutual thing. It's a lovely thing.
I find a family is a group that just wants the contents of your will.
No.
Yes.
Well, you know what they say, where there's a will.
They're already arguing about my little watch collection. I haven't gone yet. Shut up. Shut up. Jeez. I think I'm kidding. I love family's everything. I know I take the piss a lot. Family is, I don't care about anything else. I actually don't. Family is everything. The ones that you love, it's what life's about. And everybody else can go hang. I don't care. It's just not important relatively. Family is so good. And when family goes wrong, it's awful. It's awful because the very foundations of what you hope your life would be have just shattered and nonsense built on sand. So family, you got to love them, and close friends. And I'll tell you something. I'm older than you are, Neil, bizarrely, and I find now I'm starting to lose close friends. Starting to lose friends. I'm starting to lose acquaintances. It's kind of sad because they had some impact on your life. Close friends have a huge impact. I've lost my 2 best friends in Los Angeles. I'm not going to go back to Los Angeles again. It's highly unlikely now because they're both gone. And I tell you that having a few close friends, it means a lot. They are like family.
Yeah.
They are like family.
Sometimes your friends can be more like family.
Well, I see more of them.
I've got a friend that thinks more of me as a brother than his own brothers, which is, I was going to say it's bizarre, but it's not bizarre when you think about it.
No, it is. It's important. And the other thing is, God, I keep saying this, but it's so true. Time is so short. You don't know what's around the next corner.
No.
Could be something great. Could be a truck coming in the opposite direction. Just live for every day. Just live.
Which brings us back to mindfulness.
Yeah, you and I need to chat about time for our next guest. By the way, I'm watching you drinking your sparkling. I'm just cracked up here because you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job because if I felt like you today, I'd be hammering the Nurofen. And it's lovely you've gone to Canada and seen your daughter. Is it a lovely thing to be with her?
It's incredible to be with her. It's just incredible, and we have a lovely relationship, and I absolutely cherish her. I drive her absolutely mad. I mean, I've already messed up one bus journey, and failed to meet her, and I literally she wanted to kill me because she was hangry as well at the same time. But,
well, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing worse. I'm hangry.
But once I fed her and gave her sangria, I'm now back to the lovable buffoon status, which is quite where I'm happy with that.
That's great.
I'm going to get myself another bottle of fizz.
I thought you would. Right, time for you go and do that. I'll take you off for a sec. This is like Victoria Station today. I'm so Neil's on holiday. he didn't need to do this. I'm so thrilled, and he's just, he's up at the crack of sparrow's fart to do this. Adam, are you ready? Are you steady? Gladiators. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Hi, yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Yeah,
Good.
it's good to be back on this show.
Oh, pleasure. You've
Like,
just released your 11th studio album.
Yeah, I have.
You're like the Gene Simmons, but 75 years younger.
Yeah, well, something like that. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with this album because I do remember you probably don't, but I do remember appearing on this radio about my last album last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I said good to be back.
Oh, it's a No, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's an absolute pleasure. Just to make it clear, I do get inundated. Let me just explain a little bit of contextualization here. I get inundated by everybody. I've got this new album. I don't mean you, but from PR companies go, we don't play music. We're about mental health and well-being, and we don't play music. It's a speech-based radio station. Oh yeah, but I said, no, there's no backstory there. It's just somebody wants to be in the music industry. Go to radio. Go somewhere else. It's not for us. Thank you very much for thinking of us. It's not for us. You are very different because of your backstory. Remind everybody, if you would, Adam.
Well, basically, I at an early age, I had a very serious road traffic accident, and that kind of scuppered any plans of going into sport, which is what I really wanted to do. And it also kind of really it almost killed me. I was in a coma for quite a long time, and I had to relearn my life skills. Basically, had to relearn how to walk, how to talk.
Jeez.
It took ages. And I just couldn't compete at any sport at the same level as I used to be able to. So I was kind of lost, and then someone suggested I try acting, and I tried that, and I liked it, and I was good at it. But I got these mental health issues, and it just wasn't really doing it for me, and it was just a fortunate circumstances presented themselves at the right time and got me into music. And that's just and what you were saying about we don't play music, this is a mental health show. Music is the biggest tool to aid mental health.
Totally. Totally. That's my point. Yes.
Yeah. No.
Adam, let me tell you something. I couldn't agree with you
more.
No.
I
have my playlist to lift my mood, which everyone will go, what? Are you 12? No, I love it. I love the stuff that I do. Music is, we just don't play it.
I just couldn't resist.
No, you're quite right.
Saying that.
I think music is the greatest unitive and healing force, one of them, that we have as human beings. I know that's a big statement.
And you know what, Neil? Write this one down, because this could work. Music is my first love, and it will be my last. And music of the future and music
it's the food of love. Play on. To quote
Indeed. I know I was like trotting this one out, but 128 beats per minute with dance music. That's the BPMs of all the brain chemicals, all the positive brain chemicals. You get them all at once at 128 BPM.
Yeah,
that's how DJs can take their dance floors into ecstasy. It's that there's a magic of 128 BPM, scientifically proved as well. Measurable. So that fascinates me. What I want to know, Adam, is you mentioned mental health issues, and the music helped you heal. Did you pour your heart and soul into it? Please share some more of that.
Well, I mean, it started when I think when I really noticed it was when I maybe it might have been just before, but it was around the time I was anorexic, and it was just before that I'd kind of become interested in the Beach Boys. And it was, the Beach Boys music is just so kind of uplifting, and it was God Only Knows. That was the song I think really helped me get through the anorexia, but I never lost interest in music. Yeah, and I love it. I love music, and what you were saying about this being my 11th album. Yeah, it's should I say anything about that?
Yes, go ahead. Go
Please
on.
do.
Yeah, cool. Because it's the 11th album I've done, and I recorded it all in 10 days, I think. Not 10 days in a row, but 5 blocks of 2 days.
Blimey.
Yeah, because of mental health issues, and I can't cope with any kind of anxiety and stress, which I'm under all the time. Put myself under all the time, but to minimize it on this recording, I did do so much work on all of the tunes before I record them in the studio. So I've got it all planned out meticulously, and where the backing is, and where I arrange it all meticulously and rehearse it. So yeah, that's how I did 10 in 10 days.
And
Now,
that's
Adam,
an
let me
incredible
ask-
achievement.
sorry,
And what
go
sort
on.
of thing do you write about?
I just write about however I'm feeling, and
Right.
my last couple of albums have just been so much kind of happier and more kind of uplifting, which I'm pretty happy about, because it just means, you know, I feel
In a
like
good
I've got,
place. And
feel in a slightly better, well, a
Good.
much better place than I
Good.
used to.
That's great. So it's fair to say that your music is almost charting your healing journey, if you like.
Yeah, maybe.
That's lovely.
Maybe.
But
And
what,
yeah,
Adam,
sorry.
here's the thing. Do you think putting yourself under this stress, you say you can't take any stress, get that? And yet
But
you
then,
deliberately open that door, don't you? And you walk straight
yeah,
in.
but then if I don't put myself under any stress, then I just think, what am I doing? I'm
What's
not,
the point?
you know. Yeah,
What's the point?
exactly.
I'm with you.
The I mean, it's the hardest industry. This is what people have said to me. How do you I think someone asked me, are there any low points, or some stupid question like that? But the industry is full of low points, and if the more, you know, they're just relentless. But
Yeah.
more, if you don't find the high points totally outweigh all of the low points, then it's not worth doing. And for me, yeah, I'm making this album. I absolutely loved it, because it's 10 brand new tunes, and it wasn't like time restricted because of the, you know, the pandemic and the lockdowns, and so I had the time to do it. And it's called Sweeter Than Honey, and it was going to be called Honey Sounds Sweeter, which is the song at the top of the album, the first song on the album. But I thought Sweeter Than Honey might be a bit more interesting, and also it kind of sums up the subject matter of the album and exactly what I think of her. Yeah.
Nice. It's nice. And how do you distribute the album? People want to get hold of it. How do they do that?
Oh, well, it's on you can stream it. It's on more on stream it online. Yeah.
Okay.
Just look me up online. Adam
So
Lansley.
Adam Lansley, and
I think you've hit on something. Actually, I think the trick is to do it. I think if we can do it for the joy of doing it, rather than
yeah, if you don't enjoy it, just, you know, why do it? Go and do something.
It's a tough thing for us humans to master. But the happiest and most creative human beings that I've met are human beings that do things just for the joy of it, without being attached to the outcome or the result. Now, that's a big one for us to get down.
Neil, think back to Monday, Janice Hallett, now one of the most successful authors with 2 smash hit books.
Exactly.
She wrote with no expectation of ever having them published. That is a perfect example of what you're saying.
It's a perfect example, because then we get out of our own way. And when we get out of our own way, then we can go into those flow states that I always talk about, which is like the universe working through you. And it feels like ecstasy. And generally, paradoxically, it ends up an awful lot more successful, like Janice. But it's getting out of that, having to have a certain outcome to feel a certain way. That's the thing that trips most of us up, I think, in my opinion.
Asa over in New York State saying music communicates the unconscious truth that lies within.
I'd love to
Asa
get
Don
Asa
Brown's
on.
got a brain the size of Jupiter.
I would love to get him on the show one day.
Well, we can get him on the show. Asa would like to do if he can be asked to get up early in the morning. He can come on the show whenever he wants. He knows that is terribly well.
So, how many more albums have you got in you, Adam? How many?
Bloody
do you think?
loads.
I
Come
don't
on,
know.
Adam.
I mean, I'm still writing, and I'm still writing, but I just think that the reason I've loved this album, aside from the freedom I had to record it and not worry about time restrictions and stuff, is that it's just an extension of my music kind of evolving, and because I think that when you're making music and stuff starts to sound the same as all the other stuff, it might be time to start thinking about something else to do. But I've just made sure I've keep using different instruments. I've got a much wider range of tempos than I normally use on the album, and I've used different time signatures, and there's one on there. It's a ballad. I can't remember the last time I recorded a ballad. So yeah, that's track 9, by the way, for all the listeners.
Make a note. Now,
Never Be Cold.
First of all, I want to say this. I'm not so fussed about the music. What I really wanted you on the show is that you are a living, breathing example of when life just deals you a terrible blow, and you're faced with 2 choices.
Got to make the best of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Because some people would just lie. I always say you can lie in the gutter and you wait for the steamroller to hit you, or you say, okay, this has happened. It's shit, and I got to deal with it. And now I've got to somehow get myself back together. And that's what I'm so, such a fan of yours for doing, because a lot of lesser people would have said, well, that's it. My life's over. Not you. Not you.
Yeah. In addition to what I was saying about my music and music evolving, and if it starts sounding the same, then it might be time to start thinking of what else should I do. When one of you asked me how many more albums have you got in you,
that was Neil.
Nowadays I approach each album I do like it's the last one I'm ever gonna make. I mean, if like I'm still alive and able, I'm sure I'll keep doing it. But if for whatever reason I don't, I'll know that I've done everything I could possibly do to keep pushing my music and keep it evolving and sounding fresh, kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. But some of the best people, they don't. This really surprised me once. I think it was Milton Jones, the comedian, and somebody asked him, "How do you write your jokes?" And he absolutely, honest response. He just went, "I don't know if I'll ever write a joke again." Of course, he's going to write a joke again. But anything vaguely creative, we just have to sit down and kind of get into the process and allow it to unfold, don't we? We never can.
Yeah,
Same with writing, same with anything.
If I set time aside,
can we do it again? But
if I set time aside and think, like, structure my day, right, I'm going to write at this time, that doesn't work. If I haven't got something I want to write, then I'm not going to be able to write it.
So
like-
what conditions do you operate best in for the muse to fire up and think, oh yeah, I could put that to music. I could music the hell out of that. What nurtures your muse?
Oh, I don't know. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. If I feel really good and really relaxed and happy, then that definitely does. Yeah, and that's all I really want to do now. I just want to do kind of happy, kind of uplifting stuff. I don't really, writing depressing songs.
No, we've got Neil
I
Young
don't
for
really
that.
wanna
We
do
don't.
that
We don't
anymore.
need any more. We've got Neil Young and Morrissey.
Yeah, no,
for that.
Neil
That's-
Young
nice.
is
We've got Misery covered. Adam, we've got Misery covered.
no
Just listen
Neil
to a
Young
Morrissey
is
album.
in a totally different league to Morrissey. Apologies to any Morrissey fans.
Yeah, both of you out there. Adam, thank you so much. I can't bear Morrissey. I'm sorry. I just don't get it. Just absolutely just don't get it. Adam, thank you so much. We wish you so much well. Come back and see us. Get your people to reach out to it. Get your people. We'll meet in the Polo Lounge.
Adam, give it another plug. Where can we find this latest wonderful creation of yours? Give it another plug while you're on.
Honey Sounds Sweeter, available on all good streaming platforms, and look it up. And
I will.
can I just quickly say one other thing? The last album I did last year and the album I did before that, they both had the dedications for you and thank you on the cover. And this one, then I said, look, I'm not going to do any more dedications, but this is called Sweeter Than Honey, because it's for the same person as the previous two albums were for, and the dedication is in the name. And look the album up. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I thought that might tug on a few heartstrings. And
my new album's called I Hate You. Please delete all my contact details from your phone and don't ever come near me again.
That doesn't scan very well, mate.
It's a concept album. It's a double concept album. Right, Adam, bless you. You are an inspiration. You are.
Thank you very
You're an
much.
inspiration. You
Yeah,
are everything.
I think you're an
You are
understated
everything we're trying to
genius.
do here on MRS. Everything. You really are. Bless you.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
God bless. Bye
And
bye.
stay in a good place. All the best.
Bye. Here I am, a total agnostic. No, not an agnostic. An agnostic. I always end up conversations with God bless. Why do I do that? It's a weird thing. Why on earth do I say God bless? Don't know. No idea.
Because it came from the heart. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. There's something I want to say. And I wasn't giving Adam the bums. Right? What a lovely man. What a lovely man. He exemplifies what you can do when you think you can't do it. Bless him.
Yes.
Bless him. He's
Yeah.
a nice man.
Very much so. And what we often find with genius people, they're the most humble of the lot. Can I just share a quick story?
Go ahead. You're in Canada, of course you can.
I met a Nobel Prize winner yesterday, who literally...
What, he was in the strip club? Okay, moving on.
My daughter. Right? Can I just say there were no strip clubs? I would not go to a strip club with my
Wasn't much
daughter.
of a night then, was it?
Yes, it was a great night. I was with a bunch of science postgrads, right? And I tell you, it's like the Big Bang Theory. These are genius young people, but I can see where the character Sheldon came from. I was sitting with a table of these brilliant Sheldons, I sometimes have to keep a straight face because I just hear Sheldon, the way they talk to each other and all that. And it's absolutely brilliant.
It's hilarious.
But, my daughter's working with a guy called Art, who is a Nobel Prize winner for making an incredible discovery about the universe, way beyond my ken of understanding. But the point was, he is so humble. And I said, congratulations on this achievement. Because it is a hell of an achievement what he's done, and it's just nice to be able to contribute to human beings. His attitude is one of contribution, and he deferred it away from him and deferred it to Ashley, my daughter, and said, well, no, it's more about Ashley and what she did in the experiment. And you sometimes find the bigger the person, the smaller the ego, and it works the other way around.
Neil, I've known you many, many years. We've worked together. We've enjoyed each other's company. Your daughter is clearly a genius.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to be rude here, How?
Well, I think you are being very rude. She gets her
Well,
brains.
I'm
and her
I'm just
smouldering good
asking the
looks from
question
me.
that people all over the world who've come to know and love you are thinking, she's a genius. She lives in Canada. She's a genius scientist. And then there's Neil Long. How is this possible?
As I said, she gets her brains and her smouldering good looks from me.
Okay. Next week, we begin talking an in-depth discussion on delusion, starring Neil Long, and how it can get you through life. Right, I want to change the tone a little bit. There's no clever way to segue this neatly. Right. I've had messages recently, and as gut-wrenchingly awful as they are, it gets to the very heart of why Howard and I started Men's Radio Station.
Go on.
And first, I've got to talk about Chrissy Richards out in Spain, who, as you know, lost her son this week. He ended his own life.
I know, yeah.
And Chrissy's comments are saying, it's my video family that's keeping me going. I read it and it's overwhelming, the emotion I feel about that. And then we have one of our lovely broadcasters called John Ryan. He has a great show. And John was sending me messages. He gets messages from people who are thinking about ending their lives. And he's able, through Men's Radio, to direct them to people who can help. He's not saying, I'm going to help any more than Neil and I, or Phil, or Leslie, or Chantal saying, we're going to help. Can't do it. We're not trained. It's not our job. And it would be ridiculous of us to do so. We're not medically trained.
But we can signpost.
But we can signpost.
Mm.
And just reading John Ryan's comments and the messages he received, just with Chrissy's thing and so many private messages that I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you. You know, it started as an idea from me one day being in the BBC and coming across the suicide statistics of the United Kingdom, which prompted me to say to Howard, we need to start Men's Radio Station, which we did on the spot. Right. I had no more plans than that. But I just want to say thank you so much for being so loyal all over the world, and for being forming a, I'm not going to say family, but forming a community that seems to care. That seems to care.
People need that. We
in a world that doesn't.
We need a sense of community. It's vital for our. I was talking earlier about family and close friends, and it's just people. You know, the 4 A's: allowance, acceptance, approval, appreciation. You got a community. I had a lovely term the other day. You'll hate it because it's very Californian, but high vibe tribe, which I thought was great. Yeah,
what does that mean? High vibe tribe.
Yeah, but I like that. But we do need that sense of that we don't have to do this all by ourselves, and it's a lovely thing because it works both ways. It's a mutually, all true benefits are mutual. There's your fridge magnet.
The sad thing is, and I know we're running out of time, is that when you're in a very, very bad place,
you feel so alone.
You think you're completely alone, as I'm sure Chrissy Richards' son did, as we know many other people have done.
It's been my experience as well. You feel
it's awful. I've been there. I've been there. You've been there. It's horrible.
That is the nature of any mental condition. But the truth is, nothing like that. You're not alone. And the more conversations we can have about that, the more knowledge we can share, the more signposting we can do, the more advocacy we can do for mental health. I think the better, and it matters. It really bloody matters.
It does matter, and maybe this radio station, television sort of broadcasting is like you've been saying, that if you do it with no expectations that you're going to go stratospheric and be Joe Rogan or something like that, but you do it because you want to do it, because you think, as you said, Neil, it matters, then maybe it'll flow. And it might grow. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in my head. I've had to recalibrate. We're not going to be Joe Rogans. We're not going to be the Russell Brands. It's just not going to happen. But we can make a difference. And if we make a difference to even one person, well, damn it, that's good enough for me.
That's enough.
That's enough. What are you going to do for the rest of the day in Canada?
Well, there's a bed here, which I'm going to go and lie on and sleep in a minute. Get rid of this hangover. come all the way to Canada to recover from a hangover. I could have done that in the UK.
You could have done that in bloody New Malden.
I know.
I've enjoyed today. Thank you, Neil. Bless you for coming on. Enjoy.
Couple of
When are you
great
back?
guests
Are you
as
back
well.
next week? Or are you staying in Canada for a bit longer?
I am in Canada.
Bless
Yeah,
you.
can we chat
wonderful
off air
time.
about that?
What?
Can we chat off air about
Oh, of
that?
course we can. Absolutely. You take
Thank you.
care. All right. Enjoy yourself. Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Good afternoon.
See you Friday.